So, today we're going to go over the key of David. It's not talked about in these churches, it's not talked about in the Torah movement. And it seems like it causes confusion on both sides, right? Because we know that Yeshua is not a sinner, and they're teaching that he broke the Sabbath. But they're missing out what he's teaching about and what David did. So, what did David do? You know, because he did something um, that Messiah did. You know, what did David do? He was telling them. Like, did you not read what David did? And so that's what the Christians, they're not going to look out. They're going to be like these Pharisees trying to prove that he broke the Sabbath. They're using the same line to say he broke the Sabbath, but did you not read what David did and what made him blameless? Even though, you know, the kid David allowed him to do things on the Sabbath. But it wasn't just to do whatever you want to go, but I got to go like these Christians do. Oh, he broke the Sabbath, so I can do whatever I want on the Sabbath. It's not what he's teaching there. And you Torah movement, you missed this part of the Torah, which is part of the bullseye of the Torah. Because he's not doing whatever he wants either. He's not breaking the Jewish fables that you like to say. It has to do with the key of David. And it's not that they're adding more rules to the Sabbath. It just they were trying to accuse him, right? And then you have the Christians using that line to accuse him. So the whole point is Yeshua was trying to invite those to the Sabbath, a day of healing. He was telling them, if you watch an ass falling in the pit on the Sabbath, do you not go pick him up? And so the Christians are not recognizing what he's trying to do on the Sabbath. He wasn't breaking it. So he was doing something that David did, because David was about to go to war. He was going to go to war with the Philistines on the Sabbath, knowing that you have to keep the Sabbath, right? And so there's this 3-day fast. The key of David is a 3-day sexual fast. And you're going to find this in 1 Samuel because that's what the Messiah is quoting. And then 1 Samuel is quoting Exodus 19 and other various parts of the law on how to keep this fast. And what is it for? It's to protect the people, to sanctify the people from spiritual warfare. Back then it was physical. He had to go to war on the Sabbath to keep the city from being destroyed on the Sabbath day. And that's what Yeshua was doing in the temple, sanctifying others because of his sanctification. Healing the sick, healing the blind. That is brotherly love. He wasn't doing whatever he wanted on the Sabbath. And that is what you Christians are in error, and Torah movement. You don't know the key of David because, as you see, it's written all over prophecy. You just didn't go search out these matters. And what he was doing when he said, do you not read, go learn what this means. Did you not read what David do? Because he did something that David was doing. So he wasn't breaking the Sabbath. He was blameless. So it's a door for you to open doors for others. Spiritual doors. You're showing them the door. The porter at the gate in John 10. He's showing them the door where he's standing. He's standing at the gate. And so Yeshua was doing. He was nailed to his holy place. And so there's these spiritual parables and mysteries in the law and in the prophets talking about this key of David. Because we see in Isaiah chapter 22, it's mentioned there as well. And also with the church of Philadelphia, which has the key of David, which means they kept themselves away from woman and from the whore and her many daughters. So you see in Revelations 14, they're virgins. They're spiritually virgins. They're virgins to Messiah. They're going to keep themselves pure 3 days. But there's also a foreshadow in that with 3 days, because a day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 2 days he will tarry, and then he will, he will raise us up, and then he will revive us, it says. So it all ties along with foreshadowing prophecy with this fast. So you see they kept themselves pure, and so he sanctified himself, and he sanctified the army, foreshadow of how the Messiah is going to sanctify his army. so they can be ready on the third day, on the day of Yehovah, just in case you have to go to war. That's why David kept it. That's why Yeshua kept it, because he was going to go to war with the Pharisees, seeing that he's healing on the Sabbath, trying to get them back to in covenant, not doing whatever he wants, you Christians. So it's mentioned out in Isaiah 22, prophecy of how the Messiah and also his servants, if you begin to read the whole context, that they're going to obtain the key of David. An open door, he's setting before you an open door. That's the key of David, to give you strength. So it's not about doing whatever you want on the Sabbath, or, it's to sanctify the people, just in case you go to spiritual warfare like David did, because do you not read what David did? So we got to take this accountability. So they keep themselves pure all these 3 years, not 3 years, 3 days, 3-day sexual fast. So yeah, Yeshua wasn't just doing whatever he wanted on the Sabbath. That's what you Christians do, is you make up that excuse to do whatever you want on the Sabbath. Look, he broke the Sabbath, so no, he didn't. There's a thing that you can do on the Sabbath without breaking it. You see, you need to know your Bible. So we'll go to 1 Samuel chapter 21. So he begins to go to the priests here, because they're about to go to war. So it says in verse 4, and the priest answered David and said, there's no common bread. Verse 1. Then came David to Nob the Amalek, the priest, and Amalek was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Amalek the priest, the king has commanded me a business, and has said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and to such place. Now therefore, what is under thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under mine, but there is holy bread, the hidden manna, that is Yeshua. If you eat of this bread, you will have eternal life. You will be sanctified. The key of David is more than righteousness. It's holiness. Holiness is above righteousness. Just like when you enter the temple, you enter into the Holy of Holies. So look what it says. It's a fast here. But there's holy bread if the young men have kept themselves at least from woman. You see? And David answered the priest and said unto him, of the truth, women have kept them from us about these 3 days since I came out. And the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is manner common. Yeah, though it were sanctified this day, and the vessels. So the priest gave him holy bread, for there was no bread but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So you find this 3 days also in Joshua, right? He's fighting in Jericho to protect the people. And then you have Moses in Exodus 19, right? Moses is sanctifying them to be ready on the 3rd day. Come out of your wives. And then you have Joel 2, sanctify the assembly. He's talking about the key of David, to use the key of David to sanctify the people. It's brotherly love. It's not a light thing. So you'll find this also in different parts of its parables, and even the fast. That is the true fast. You keep yourself pure for 3 days. You have a pure heart, keep the 10 commandments, and have clean hands, fulfill the royal law. And that's how you become pure and holy and sanctified. So it's not a light thing to do. You Christians have twisted what it means. So he doesn't just, it's not a light thing to use. And so it's not given to everybody. It's only given to the Church of Philadelphia, because they have kept his word and kept his command. They will be protected from on that 3rd day, which is the 6th seal. Because they kept his command. They kept themselves pure. They made their garments white. They became truly born of God, virgins. They became virgins to Messiah. They became born again, truly born again. That's what it means to be a virgin in Messiah. Not like with that they're saying that they're Jewish little kids. So that's why the book of Isaiah tells us to read line upon line, here little, there little. He doesn't just teach this in Matthew 12. He's teaching it throughout all the gospel. Matthew 19, it tells you he's going to uphold the key of David. And so the sons of men are going to do the same thing on the Sabbath if they need to. If they see someone falling on a ditch on the Sabbath, they're going to pick his ass up. And that's not what you Christians are doing on the Sabbath. You're forgetting that part. You're just using that Pharisaic line that they used against him. Oh, you're breaking the Sabbath. Falsely accusing him. That's why he had said, did you not read line upon line about what David did? How he profaned the Sabbath and he was still blameless? You see, it's important to have this in the last days. You know, that's why he was blowing the trumpet in Zion. He's sounding the alarm to those Pharisaic Jews, those Pharisees and Sadducees, whatever, that try to accuse him, how to blow the trumpet, how to sanctify the people in the temple, because it was full of doctrines of men. There was people that were sick. They didn't care. They were leaving the weightier matters of the law. That's the true fast, to make yourself clean, your hands clean, your heart clean, keeping the 10 Commandments and loving your neighbor as you love yourself, and to keep yourself away from woman for 3 days. If you have a wife, and then he teaches in Matthew 19 that if you don't have a wife, or if you separate yourself from your wife, you can keep the key of David. You make yourself for the kingdom's sake, you make yourself a virgin, born of God. That's why there says it's better for them not to marry. And that's why Paul teaches it in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. It's better for you to remain single. But if you're being a couple, I'd rather be in praying and fasting, which is the key of David. He's teaching all this because of Matthew 19 and what the Messiah is talking about. And he knew this because he had the law and the prophets. He understood the key of David. It's all about the kingdom's sake. It ain't about ourselves to do what we want on the Sabbath. That's not what Yeshua was teaching. They're spiritually undefiled. He had the right to do that because he had the key of David. You know? So if you have it, it's not lawful to kindle fire if you got the key of David. Without profaning it, you're not misusing it. You're not supposed, if you keep it, you're not supposed to misuse it. Isaiah 58 tells you that you fast for striving, full of sacrificial law, Torah movement. You don't even know what the key of David is, and that's who he's talking to. That's not the fast that he wanted. That's why men are called and few are chosen to have the key of David. It's not given to everyone. That's why he teaches it in Matthew 19. Let him who receives this receive it. To whom it is given. So you're doing lawful things with the key of David. So you need it, or else it's unlawful to kindle fire. You don't just go start looking for a rebuke. You have to. There has to be a reason, and there has to be something shown in your face, right? Because on the third day he will raise us up. Hosea 6:1. Kept pure 3 days before the millennium reign. That's also meaning for the eunuchs. So you got to pull the sheep from the pit together as well and edify. And that's what he was doing. When he healed that man on the Sabbath, he came up across him. He told him, you're already made well. Go and sin no more before something else happens after he already healed him. So right there, it's a brotherly love. That's what the key of David is. So yeah, you also go to war, aka spiritual warfare, on the Sabbath. You're going to have someone trying to go to war with you. You never know. That's why it's important to have it. Just in case to rain coils of fire for those who want to kindle fire. They want to start strife on the Sabbath, Torah movement. That's why you got to have it. In case someone is trying to kindle a fire, start an argument or whatever. Because that's what he was using when he was allowing them to eat. Because they were with him for 3 days, all those times. They were giving up everything, so they were allowed to eat. And, you know, did you not read what David did? His army had to eat that holy bread. They ate. He represents that bread. They were eating with him. And so they kept themselves away for 3 days. So they got to go to war. Because why was David doing that? because he was trying to protect his city from being destroyed on the Sabbath day. And that's what Yeshua was doing with his disciples. It's a fast, and not to pollute on the Sabbath day. Not just on the Sabbath day, but as you're keeping it. Throughout the whole week, throughout the whole 3 till the 3rd day, to the 6th seal as well. So it's a form of holiness to sanctify those around you. That's why you make yourself holy, so you can sanctify others. Witnessing, teaching, and rebuking. With the man that couldn't walk and made well, there was an open door for him. He was trying to open a door through healing, through rebuking, and witnessing. Because he had to rebuke him and tell him, go and sin no more. So yeah, Revelations 3:10 proves that they're going to have the key of David. If you're paying attention, and I'm quoting verse by verse, it's in Isaiah 22 as well. Showing that the Church of Philadelphia is going to have it because they actually nail their ears to the door, which is the Messiah. And they're standing right there at the door, at the gate, watching. Blessed is he watching daily at my gates. That's why they became pure as virgins. Because they did this 3-day sexual fast. Not just from actual woman, but from the whore and her many daughters, like Mystery Babylon. Sun god worship. That's what it means also. They're spiritually undefiled. They're pure as virgins to God spiritually, undefiled. From whores and her many daughters. Spiritually and physically. Because throughout those 3 days, that's why he says, pray that your flight may not be on the Sabbath, because you never know if he might come in inside. No one knows the day or the hour. It's not just the 3 days either. Those other 3 days, you got to make sure you're not breaking it. Because Isaiah 58 is your proof right there. If you want to learn about this. It's so much stuff that the Torah movement left out. Didn't go study out in the Torah. And go learn what Yeshua was doing, because he did something that David did. So yeah, this key of David is an open door for single men, single couple, or whoever's single, and for married couples to sanctify their relationship even better, to keep it in a just balance. So on how to deal with it with one flesh, for the kingdom's sake, for the kingdom of heaven, and also making yourself a eunuch. If there's some brothers that are gonna have to go through separation. In Ezra chapter 9:10, they're doing the key of David. They're sanctifying themselves, putting away their strange wives, since many are called and few are chosen. Their wives didn't want to continue, so they have to make themselves a eunuch and not look for another wife until she reconciles. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, he's teaching that. And then you want to you take the key of David away from prophecy. Like, oh, that's not in scripture, he's speaking nonsense. Well, it's because the book of Revelation is written to Jacob, my servant, in the last days. And they're going to go seek it out because they kept his word. He won't accept a vain fast. It's not whatever you think it is, or what the church teaches you. There's so many things in the law that you missed out of the bullseye of the Torah movement. That's why we teach it. All the prophets, Isaiah is more of a witness on who had the key of David, because how did he know? Where there's 2 or 3 gathered in my name,